Greetings, friends. It is Seth. It is another episode of Werewolf Wednesday. And tonight I will be talking about Dog Soldiers, which is one of my favorite werewolf films of all time. Hold on one second. Just come down and get what you gotta get. Okay. All right. Thanks. Kids. Um, yeah, that is crazy.
For real.
For real. Good night. Love you.
Not really.
So anyway, yeah, tonight I will be talking about Dog Soldiers, which is a film that I consider to be easily probably the most badass werewolf film, mainly because it's very action packed. Most werewolf films don't have this level of action throughout. Yeah, it was just it's a film that I saw when it premiered on the Sci-Fi Channel. A few months before it came to DVD, and I've taken a strong liking to it. Um, so before I begin this episode on Dog Soldiers, I'm just gonna read through a couple of comments that we already have, and then I'll get into my different topics about it. So first off is Sean, always the first to comment, who says, "Sorry to say, dude, not a fan. I love the setting of the Scottish Highlands, and the effects are good, but not a fan of the characters and the twist with the girl is so obvious." So I understand that. Like, I have a couple friends who don't really care for this film as much as I do. One of them is Ray. I'm pretty sure that I don't think he hates it, but he definitely doesn't have the love for it. I know that one of his big issues is that there's no like on-screen transformation that you see, and that's something that you got to have in a werewolf film, according to him. And then another good friend of mine, Darren, he doesn't like the look of the werewolves, and part of one of the topics I'll be talking about is the werewolves themselves and the design, stuff like that. So um, I'll let you know um, my friend's opinion on that when I get to that particular segment. But yeah, there's plenty of people who don't care for Dog Soldiers as much, but it, typically speaking, I think it's a fairly well liked movie. A lot of people bring it up, so um, but thanks for tuning in, even if you don't care for it. Oh, well, I was going to mention too so I liked the characters in this. So, and then the twist with Megan, I was suspicious of her here and there, like on my first view, but like I didn't. I personally didn't think it was obvious. Maybe it was just because when I saw it back in 2002, I was a little I was dumber than I am now. So there's always that. Oh, I missed the comment. Sorry. CT Salem says, "Hey Seth, let's go. How's it going? Thank you for joining." Sean says, "It's no werewolf in London." Yeah. Uh, CT says, "Been looking forward to the stream, bro. You've made Wednesdays awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. And thanks for coming back. And let me know what you think of Dog Soldiers. Are you someone who who loves it, or do you hate it? Are you mixed on it? Yeah, let me know what you think of it." And Sean says, "I give it a flat 3-star rating. It's okay." Yeah, that's understandable. That's like on the lines of like it's decent, but it's not great. And the film does have flaws too, but um, so those are the comments that I got so far. So I'm gonna start with all my topics, and my first topic is first impressions. So this film has a special place in my heart because of the mindset I was in when I first watched this. So, long story short, I got a cut on my lip and it got infected, and I believe sun poisoning was also a part of it because basically what happened was I got hit in the face with a football while on a beach, and my lip swelled out like hardcore, like it really swelled out, and then eventually started like cracking open, and then it scabbed all over, right? And at the time, I was working at the local movie theater, and I couldn't just like not go to work, right? So uh, I went to work looking like that, and seeing all the disgusted looks from people, understandably so, and kind of hearing some of the hearing some people say some stuff as they kind of walk down the walk down the hallway, and I've always been someone who struggles with depression and stuff like that, but I was a lot worse back then. I'm a little bit more confident these days than I was back then. And so it was, I had a day off and I was really bummed. Um, Kind of, feel bad for myself type of thing. Just uh, not doing well mentally. And I didn't want to go anywhere, so I just stayed home. I was flipping through channels looking for something to watch, and I come across the Sci-Fi Channel, which was playing a movie called Dog Soldiers. And naturally, being someone who loves werewolves, I had to watch it. I missed like the first 10 or 15 minutes of it, but I uh, I was thoroughly engaged throughout the entire thing, and I know it's kind of corny to say, but like the movie cheered me up. It took me completely out of my funk, and I instantly loved it, and I was just like, I just forgot about every little thing that was kind of wearing me down. And I can't remember if it was the same day, if it was like the next day. Despite you know the situation I had, I went to Blockbuster and asked for them to order me a copy of it, and the employee there said, well, "It's not out yet, but it'll be out in a couple. It'll be out in like a month or so." I can't remember the exact space of time between when I saw it on TV and when I finally got my copy in. But so they ordered a copy for me. So I just want to get that out there because I do have a bias towards this film because of that, because of the situation of my first time seeing it, and sort of how like it was like a movie that just it, it was a movie that I just enjoyed so much. It was complete pure escapism for me, and it made me feel good. I know it's weird to say for a horror film, but it was a feel good horror film for me. So that's why I have a special love for this movie and a special bias for it. Naturally, I've seen it a shitload of other times. Now, this is not in my top five of werewolf films, but it is definitely in my top 10. I think it's like my number six. Um, there are absolutely there are certain things that I don't care for about it so much, but those to me just feel like sort of like little tiny nitpicky stuff. And I'll probably get into. I don't have anything planned on like a con segment, but I'll probably get into that when I get into my final thoughts. So just want to put out the context of why I have a bias towards this film. Before I move on, is if Ray is back from streams, we need to do it. We love the Dark Knight stream. Yeah, yeah, he'll love that. It's not that in American, I hear a lot of kids over there. My first job was in the movie theater. Yeah. Sean says, "What's up, Seth? Hope you're doing well." Yes, I am doing well. Doing better. Doing better. Last week, I was unable to do this show because I had a really bad cold, uh, really bad like chest congestion. It was kind of difficult to breathe, and bad cough, and I was in no shape to do a show. So I am doing well. I am doing better. Thank you. So get into the story. So the story is about a group of British soldiers who are on a training exercise in the um, Highlands of Scotland, and while they're there, they come across what is the remains of a special black ops team, and soon they all get attacked by a pack of werewolves, and they come across a zoologist named Megan, and they take shelter in a nearby house that's completely isolated, and they're trapped inside while the werewolves surround. I think it's a pretty simple story. It almost feels like it's got shades of Predator. It's got shades of Night of the Living Dead. Um, it's elements of even I guess Assault Precinct 13, which I guess you could say also kind of took from Night of the Living Dead. But I think it's a fairly simple story. It works. Um, yeah, it's not overly complicated. There's some twists and turns, and I do like I do like the fact that uh, it was no accident that this team was there. It was no coincidence either. Really, it was they were selected by the to be bait by the special ops team, and the twist with Megan does kind of feel forced. Um, and maybe it's just because I didn't really care for her line delivery when she's kind of explaining everything, and there's really no explanation of how she was able to remain in her human form through the entire time. Um, so uh, I don't know. I think the story is fine. It's simple, and I think it works. I think it's a good premise for a werewolf film. I think it makes it a fast pace and exciting as a werewolf film. Um, so I definitely like that approach. So Sean says, meant, is it an American thing for kids to have their first job in a movie theater? I hear that over there. Yeah, maybe. I don't know if it's an American thing, but it's just like it was one of those deals where naturally I just love movies in general. My dad worked at the local theater as a projectionist, and I would go with him all the time. And so I knew the manager there, who I call Old Man Steve. I knew him, since I was a kid. And then when I was, old enough to get a job, um, uh, I just kept hounding him for a job, and eventually he hired me on. And I love working there, man. It was my favorite job. Like, if I was able to get like 40 hours a week, I never would have left there. I only left there out of like necessity because, after getting out of school, I needed to find a full time job to support myself. So, um, I don't know if it's an American thing, but working at a movie theater was awesome. We missed you last week. Thank you. Missed you too, man. Yeah, I wanted to do this show last week, but I definitely couldn't. I definitely couldn't. My voice was pretty bad, and again, it was hard to breathe. So, don't throw eggs or tomatoes on me. But I didn't really like Dog Soldiers when I first saw it. But the second time I saw it, it clicked. By the way, my first job was at a grocery store. um, Yeah, so I'm gonna go get some eggs and tomatoes. I'll be right back. No, yeah, I mentioned in the beginning tonight, because the other Sean, uh, uh, the UK Sean, I'll call him. I don't even know where you are from, Sean with the W, but we'll call the other one UK Sean, and I'm assuming you're American. I'm assuming, so we'll call you US Sean. Okay, how about that? But I was explaining to UK Sean that uh, I know quite a few people who don't like this movie very much. Not that they hate it, but that they got issues with it. It's definitely not one of their favorites. It's probably not even in their top 10. Um, but and that's fine. I have I have a bias towards it, a personal connection towards it. It's a movie that's kind of uh, close to my heart, and it's just a movie I just love in general. I think this movie is super fun. Um, but um, yeah, Ireland actually. Okay, I'll call you Irish Sean. How about that? But close enough. Grew up in North Carolina, live in West Virginia, U.S. Sean works. Okay, so we'll do Irish Sean and U.S. Sean. That that way you guys know which one I'm talking to. Now, as far as the direction cinematography, I don't think it's. I think that's like sort of like a weak part with this. I think Neil Marshall kind of improved greatly for his next film, The Descent. I didn't like that moment in the beginning when the soldiers are leaving the helicopter after the drop, and it's just like it's very like shaky, and it like kind of goes back and forth, and it's just like I didn't think that part worked. I think there are certain scenes that I get what he was trying to do, but they just look weird. Like so, there's like this one moment. I think one of the first attacks when they first enter in the house, and the power goes out, and you have like one character shooting a gun, and like the camera's on him, and like so like he's shooting the gun, and he's like walking towards it, and there's something about it that looked weird. And then there's like another point not too long after that where it was like that same character and another character kind of like side by side with the guns shooting, and it looked weird. It looked weird. So not perfect as far as direction and cinematography. I think Neil Marshall definitely greatly improved with his next film because The Descent is just all around amazingly made in like every possible way. So I know it seems like I'm complaining, but I do like this movie a lot. A couple P. Yeah, kind of flying through these. So the score, I dig most of the score for this movie. Now there's certain areas where the score kind of feels like really kind of cheesy, but um, I love the score anytime like the big action happens. I think it's good and it's exciting, especially in the third act, like the whole final half hour of the movie where uh, after Megan reveals that she is a werewolf and that she let them in the house, and it's Spoon, Cooper, and Sarge fighting for their lives. Like the music is fantastic in that moment. Um, Again, there are certain scenes where like sort of like the music kind of seems kind of cheesy, almost kind of like it fits more of like a made for TV movie. You know what I mean? But I overall I dig the score for this movie. That was another thing I heard some people kind of complain about. but I dig it. Sorry, keyboard. A couple of YouTubers I follow for them. It's the British humor and dialogue put them off. Uh, yeah, well, because it is understandably difficult. Like for me as an American, and I know the world doesn't revolve around just Americans. I'm not trying to say that, but like trying to understand some of the dialogue. I mean, even to this day, there are um, certain moments where a character speaks, and I don't quite fully grasp what they're saying. And again with the humor as well, like I don't get it, but um, so I understand that, but like for me, it's not all that off-putting. Um, because I get a general idea of everything that's kind of being communicated. And again, I just have a lot of fun with this movie every single time I watch it. This film does not get old for me. So, um, uh, any little any issue I have with this film is sort of like a minor gripe, and that's it. That's it. Uh, U.S. Sean says the direction showed promise, but I do think the cinematography was hampered a little by the budget. That's very, very possible. Yeah, because this was like super low budget, um, and it's got like this like gritty vibe to it too. So now onto the subject of the werewolves. Now I like the look of the werewolves for the most part. So my favorite type of werewolf is the bipedal, the ones that stand on two legs, and they have the full wolf snouts and heads and stuff like that, like the Howlin', the first Howlin'. I love that design. Now, the certain area where I agree with my friend Darren is that if you look at, hold on, I got a picture. I'm gonna pop it up. I forgot that I grabbed a couple of photos. Probably can't really tell from here. I tried to save a different photo, but so the issue here is I think the overall design looks really cool, right? But the issue my friend has, and this is where I kind of agree with him, is that the rest of the body is practically hairless. It's sort of like nude, and I wish it was like more full hair because I think it would have looked a lot better. Not saying this design is terrible the way it looks. I mean, at least they got the the werewolf like hands and claws and stuff like that, and there are spots of hair here and there on the body, but they look very sleek and nude, and like just the hair is just on the head area, and I just wish it was like covering the full body. But again, it's not a deal breaker for me personally. I I mean, I do dig the werewolves in this. I like also their movements. Um, I also I like the way that they're shot in the film. There's a couple moments where you see sort of like the outline of one, like in his face is sort of like silhouetted, um, and I like that. Um, so I think overall the werewolves look really cool. Although I do wish they had the full body of hair. I think it would have made them look a lot better. But it's probably budget thing. Again, super low budget when it was made. Neil Marshall was unheard of. And I don't know. It worked for me. Irish Sean says, Neil Marshall, what happened to him? What's he done since the descent? Yeah, I think he had a new movie that came out this year. I can't remember what it was called. Um, I've seen a couple things he's done after the descent. He did Doomsday, which I thought was a lot of fun. That was like it was like almost like a mix of like Escape from New York with Mad Max. I thought that was a lot of fun. I thought that was a blast. Um, he directed this movie. It was like a period piece with Michael Fassbender. I can't remember what it was called. I own it, and it's somewhere here in the house, but I don't know where. What was it like Centurion or something like that? Um, don't quote me on that. I wish I could spot it. Um, I thought that was okay, but then yeah, he just kind of like I don't know if he necessarily disappeared or if I just stopped paying attention. But it's a shame because especially with Dog Soldiers and then following up Dog Soldiers with the Descent, and then even after that with Doomsday, and I know that of the three, Doomsday is probably the less popular, but he was a director that showed a lot of promise, and I really wanted him to do Dog Soldiers too, man. I really wanted that to happen, and I'm actually surprised it didn't happen. You know, we can get like 75 sequels to the Howling, but we can't get a single sequel to Dog Soldiers. It just seems weird. Um, but yeah, US Sean says, I think that the main reason I didn't like this film at first was because I was just beginning to realize that they made films outside of the US. Irish Sean says, seems he had done a couple movies, but nothing close to how popular Descent. Anyone I know loves that movie. Yeah, it's true. I think The Descent's probably his most popular for sure. Um, I prefer Dog Soldiers mainly because I'm a werewolf guy, but The Descent is an amazing horror film. Kind of flying through this, so it's gonna be a short episode tonight. Not a bad thing. So going on to my favorite scene, I love the final act of the movie, and my favorite scene happens during that sequence, and that is when Spoon takes on a werewolf, throwing fist, giving it all he has, just going absolutely fucking nuts. I think Spoon is my favorite character in the movie. I think he was the one that had, probably outside of Sean Pertwee's character, um, I think Spoon had the most personality, and I mean, who doesn't love a fist fight between a human and a werewolf? I mean, come on, am I right? But I love the scene just because of one. I really liked this character. I think the actor did a really good job. He brought some personality to it, and the way that he was going crazy was totally within the character that we saw throughout the entire film. And it's just, I've never seen in a werewolf film before this one, and I've seen a lot more werewolf films since seeing this. I mean, I was far less experienced with werewolf films in general, but uh, seeing someone literally fist fight a werewolf, that is just pure gold to me. So that is my favorite scene. Now, for any of you commenting, do you have any favorite scenes in this movie? And if so, what is it? Um, drop the banner here. U.S. Sean says the fist fight is my favorite scene as well. Yeah, I think it was a lot of fun, and I remember showing this to another friend back in the day, and I didn't show it to him. I let him borrow it. I told him about it, and I told him about the movie. Let him borrow it, and one of the first things he came up and talked to me about, like the next day or 2 days later, or whatever, was that scene with Spoon fighting the werewolf. Yeah, so I mean, overall, I really, really love this movie for a variety of different reasons. Again, as I mentioned in the beginning of tonight's episode, just my own personal mindset at the time that I first watched it. This film helped me, and that I just think in general it's just a really fun, entertaining, fast-paced, action-packed, badass werewolf film. Because most werewolf films, they don't have this level of action in them. Uh, they're made up of either someone who is attacked and bitten and then kind of slowly becomes a werewolf, or in some cases someone trying to figure out who a werewolf is, and they're very heavy on the suspense and the characters, and keeping sort of like the werewolves sort of like keeping the werewolves almost like in the shadows for chunks of it, or keeping it a mystery. Whereas this one just comes out, um, this one just comes out swinging. Um, yeah, I mean, it really only takes like 10, maybe 50 minutes tops before the werewolves enter the picture, and it doesn't let the foot off the pedal ever since. Um, so this is a movie that I do rewatch quite often. I had a lot of fun watching it again tonight. Um, it's my number six on my ranking list of all the werewolf films I've seen. Coming in behind, American Werewolf in London is my favorite of all time. Uh, my number two is The Howling. Number three is The Wolfman from 1941. Number four, and I get shit for this all the time, but my number four is The Wolfman 2010, because it's a completely underrated film, and I don't give a shit what anyone says. My number five is Late Phases, and then this is my number six. So that's where it kind of falls on my ranking list. So um, yeah. US Sean says, I watched this with my best friend, introduced him to it. My friend literally said he's not going to punch out that werewolf. What is he, fucking nuts? Yeah. That's what I liked about the character, is that he was fucking nuts. He was crazy enough to do that. That was kind of like refreshing. But throughout the entire movie, he was kind of like uh, crazy like that too. I love that scene too, where they needed him to like go outside to be a decoy so they could have Joe run to the truck in the barn. Um, I like that scene too. Where he lights the uh, God damn, I can't even speak tonight. Probably shouldn't even done the show. Um, where he lights the flare, and then he's just like, "Come on," like I love that scene too. But yeah, I, there was other things I was gonna say about this movie, and I just kind of forgot what I was gonna say. Right before I went to jump on, it was just a little hectic here in the house, and it just kind of threw me off. So, um, thank you to the two Seans, the one from Ireland, the one from the US. Thank you for watching. If there's anything else you guys want to talk about, just let me know. Anything werewolf related. What should I'll take a poll here. Oh, also thank you to CT Salem for watching as well. Um, didn't mean to forget about you, buddy. Yeah, what should the next Werewolf Wednesday show be about? And I will try to be way more better prepared and hopefully within the right mind frame. Um, Ooh, this is actually a good question. If they did do a sequel, what direction would you like the story to go in? I would like to have more of insight um, into the special operations that um, Ryan worked for. So, like, I always sort of like envisioned, I had my own like, fan fan fiction type thing going on with a sequel to Dog Soldiers um, where it was basically, Cooper is sort of deemed crazy because of his story about what happened to his unit, and no one believes him. And then uh, he locates this special facility where scientists are doing strange experiments on different things, secretive things, and in the process, there's actual soldiers who are now werewolves, and they have to, and they chase them down. So my idea would be more of like, I wish I could explain this better. I am terrible at speaking tonight. Um, which is nothing new. I guess that's like me every time I speak. But uh, the direction I would go into is lean more into the special operations, the science experiments, and have actual soldiers who are werewolves, and they're hunting him down and have him, I don't know, go to hole up in some sort of village or town or something like that. Go bigger. But this was like an old plot point. I'm just that I came up with like when I was younger. It's a good question. Uh, I should probably put more thought into it. You mentioned doing my idea about werewolves as secondary characters in film and TV, Waxwork, Tales from the Crypt. Yeah, I could do that too. Yep, I got to I got to come up with a list of different things. The Tales from the Crypt episodes. I haven't seen Waxwork to be honest with you, but I should watch that. Um, I also wanted to do one on the TV show Werewolf the series from the '80s, but that would require me to kind of just sit down and watch them all and take some notes. But yeah, I could do that. Um, I should probably write that down because I'm gonna forget. Uh, but yeah, you'd really enjoy Waxwork, I think. Yeah, I've been wanting to see that because I've heard stuff about it. Uh, I think it is available somewhere to watch, whether it be Prime or Shutter or something like that. So I will definitely check that out. And then, as far as the Tales from the Crypt episodes, do you recall what seasons? I guess I could pull all my Tales from the Crypt out. Yeah, I'll have to kind of look through all my Tales from the Crypt, unless you let me know what seasons those episodes were in. Um, yeah, I remember the names. I just couldn't remember the seasons, but it's okay. I got them all on DVD, so I will. I'll go through them all. They all have the episode list inside, and I'll make a note and I'll watch them. Um, and I guess while on that subject too, I'll probably mention Van Helsing because the werewolf was sort of secondary, or even less than that, maybe. Well, is there anything anyone would like to say about dog soldiers? Um, any conversation? Any conversations about werewolves in general that you want to have? I'll stay on for a little bit longer. Um, and if not, I will bounce and go to bed. um, so far, if I remember correctly, Irish Sean doesn't really care for dog soldiers. U.S. Sean appreciates now more than he did before. Is there anyone else watching who would like to mention anything, whether you love or you hate dog soldiers? Um, I mostly see a lot of love for it. I mean, there's a lot of times where it gets brought up as one of the best werewolf films of all time. I've seen people put it at their number one. I've seen people put it at least in their top five. I've seen people say they love Dog Soldiers more than the Howling. Um, it's weird, but everyone's different. Um, and Monster Squad because Wolfman's got nerds. That's true. He does got nerds. The Wolfman from Monster Squad is awesome. I really like that version of Wolfman. I think the design of him is fantastic as is, and I just love the I love the character in it, and yeah, super fun movie. Actually, I could talk about something else here. So I did watch this newer werewolf film that came out this year. It's called Jesus Christ, what is it called? I'm doing terrible today. Terrible. Um, oh, it's called Lord of Wolves, and it's from the same director. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, even though I had it memorized for a long time. Uh, but he made a movie called Werewolf in England a couple years back, and then in 2021 or 2022, he had a film called Werewolf Castle. Um, so, uh, A Werewolf in England, I enjoyed up to a certain point. There was a moment where I was like, okay, I can kind of dig this. It's not bad for like a direct to video werewolf film. Um, there's elements that I really liked to it. And then it got to a scene where these characters are hiding from the werewolves, and suddenly the werewolf squats over where they're hiding and just starts shitting and shits all over them. And it was just like, one, it was completely gross, but two, like it was just it overstayed its welcome. It was very excessive, and so that film lost me there. Uh, his other film, Werewolf Castle, I enjoyed, at least in the perspective of I've seen a lot of shitty werewolf films as I seek them all out. And so, in comparison to a lot of the terrible ones that I have seen, and I think I watched like one or two awful ones, like right before watching Werewolf Castle, I thought in comparison, it was not bad. So, I didn't know that he was doing another werewolf film, but he did one. Um, uh, and it was called Lord of Wolves. It came out this year, and it's available to rent on Prime. Do I recommend it? It's hard to say. Um, I I think for the most part people won't like it, but it's sort of like it kind of blends werewolves with a little bit of like a Hellraiser thing happening, and I will say that what will I say? So basically, the there's like these wolf people led by like Aeon who are sort of like Cenobite like in a certain way, but they appeal to lost souls. And there's this like box thing for no particular reason. It doesn't really serve a purpose in the film. It's just sort of like it almost seemed like they had the idea of um, of trying to kind of create this Hellraiser like mythology, but just the boxing that was in it just really served no purpose. Um, and so it appeals to lost souls and sort of gets them to get their inner wolves out, and so there's multiple different characters in it. You know, there's like this photographer guy who is staying with the guy that mentored him, who and he finds out that his mentor is dying from cancer, so he's sort of like lost. There's like this woman who finds out she's pregnant and is upset about it, but as we and she has trouble with her husband. She has intimacy issues with her husband, and as it gets revealed that she was raped by a coworker, she never told her husband because she couldn't find a way to say the words. And uh, this guy that raped her, when she does try to tell her boss, you know, her complaint kind of gets brushed off, and uh, and then when she tries to tell her husband, he kind of like blames her, and so it gets to that, and then there's a character who um, has issues because his parents don't approve of his lifestyle because he's gay, and he just gets drunk and hooks up with dudes, and his sister uh, is with a guy who turns out to be a junkie who has been taking the rent money and uh, blown on drugs, and therefore uh, she has no place to go because they basically get evicted from their apartment. Um, the look of the wolf people does not look good at all. Like the designs of the faces do not look good at all. They just kind of look like cheap masks. You know, it's weird because this director, his other two werewolf films, Werewolf in England and Werewolf Castle, I think the designs of the werewolves actually look pretty good in those two. And um, but here, because he was going for more of a Hellraiser type approach, like it was like the designs just look terrible. Um, I think the story is also kind of a mess. So it's got all these different characters that it focuses on, and there's chunks of time where like you don't see a certain character for a chunk of time. There's unnecessary. Uh, I'll just say there's unnecessary explicit sequences that just kind of serve no purpose. Um, I think the idea behind it is kind of intriguing, and I liked some of the setup to it, but I think overall it's just sort of like a mess of a film. Um, so far, I think that's the seventh 2024 werewolf film that I've seen, and out of the seven, I only like one werewolf film this year so far, which is kind of a shame. Um, so if you like werewolves, if you seek out any type of werewolf film, you know it, it may be worth a watch. I don't know if it's worth renting per se, um, but I think overall I can't recommend it to like general horror fans, um, because it's not a great movie. And I get shit for liking the director's previous werewolf film, Werewolf Castle. Um, but yeah, I was disappointed. Um, when I saw the director's name pop up on the screen, I was like, "Oh shit, he made this!" And I remember liking Werewolf Castle. Um, I like it enough, and again, it's in the context is that I've seen a lot of shitty werewolf films, so that film by comparison isn't bad. But like, if you don't watch a lot of werewolf films, I wouldn't recommend any of this guy's works, to be honest with you. So take it for what it's worth. I just thought it would be interesting to bring up. I considered doing a full review on it, but like not too long after I watched it. But now it's been so long where I'm just like, and I don't want to watch it again. I don't really. Werewolves and Hellraiser, I'm in. I mean, give it a shot. I mean, you might like it. You know, yeah, it goes pretty far with certain stuff. Um, that you may be sensitive to or you may not be sensitive to. That's all I'm going to say because I don't want to get into any sort of political slash ideological discussion. But um, yeah. Hey, Ray, what's up, man? You should watch Brides of Dracula tonight. Peter Cushing is badass. Remember Cutter Eyes. I should watch that tonight. Actually, I'm probably going to. Are we doing that Sunday night? Because I'll probably watch it closer to when we do the show. Because I got terrible fucking memory. All right. Well, I have run out of steam. I'm very exhausted, scatterbrained as always, and there's not much conversation happening. Um, yeah. So once again, just to kind of bring it back to the topic, kind of final thoughts. Love Dog Soldiers. I think it's a really badass werewolf film. A lot of fun. I enjoy it a lot. I understand people's problems with it. I have issues with it here and there. My minor things are, I would say, uh, the whole Megan reveal, mainly because of, I don't know, don't necessarily blame the actress, but the lines of dialogue, not great. Um, some of the direction, cinematography, I think, I think overall this is fine for like a first film for Neil Marshall, and he improved after this greatly. Some of the direction, cinematography are amazing, but and then I think the werewolf designs themselves. I like the overall design of the creature. The bipedal, snout, the wolf head, um, the 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 fingers and the claws and all that. But I just wish that the bodies were covered with the fur and not sort of like kind of like um, uh, nude or sleek looking, you know. But but yeah, I love dog soldiers, and I know a lot of people do, and then there's a lot of people who don't, and that's fine. I was kind of hoping that there'd be more of a discussion tonight because it seems like it's popular enough film, but not a lot of people chiming in tonight. Can't really keep it going by myself, um, just because of who I am. CT says, "Good night, Marty." I gotta practice it so like I sound like Jane from Silver Bullet. Good night, Marty. I love you. Uh, US John says, "Thanks for the stream, Seth. You guys rock. Happy spooky season." Yeah, and same to you. It's felt good for the last couple days, where it's like uh, the nice fall weather, at least here in Vermont. You know, it's been like today the high was like 65. You know, the leaves are changing colors. You know, the sun was out and everything, and it was just a nice day. And I was at work. I was just like, man, I'd rather be at home right now watching horror films. Um, so uh, it's a good time of year. Yeah, Wikipedia. How you doing, man? Says I like to celebrate AEW getting a new deal, but that show tonight was garbage. Um, what is that? Did Marty die, and that's why she said that? It almost kind of seemed like it, right? Like the ending of Silver Bullet with the I mean, the whole narration in general. It almost seemed like it was like older Jane, sort of like reminiscent about her brother and the time that they bonded over a werewolf, over a Reverend Werewolf. Um, but that's a good question, to be honest with you. What's your go-to on Halloween night? Not to be a basic bitch, or basic bro. It's usually John Carpenter's Halloween or Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. I'm an unapologetic Halloween 3 fan. I've always have been before it kind of became cool. Not saying everyone who likes it is a bandwagoner. I'm just saying at the time that I first watched it, at the time that I loved it, I've heard nothing. I heard nothing but people trash talk that movie, and it's been great over the last few years where people are expressing more love towards it. So that's great. Um, but those are my two. Um, I could also probably throw in Night of the Demons. That's a good one too. Uh, I feel like I'm forgetting something that kind of takes place around Halloween. I can't remember now, but yeah, AW Dynamite is a wrestling show. Oh, that's cool. I haven't watched wrestling since I was like 16. I used to watch it a lot when I was a kid, and then I started like working. Um, I was like working, you know, nights, um, and I just missed. I just got missing it, and then I just kind of like never got back into it. But um, yeah, Halloween 3 is awesome. I really enjoy it too. That's awesome, man. I'm glad to hear it. I do like that Halloween 3 um, is getting some proper love now because I think it's. I've always thought it was really good. Like maybe it was just because like when I first watched it, one, I heard a lot about how much it sucked, but also I went into it knowing that it was going to have nothing to do with um, the rest of the series, and so like I just went into it a little bit more open minded, be like, okay, well then what's this about? And I just kind of enjoyed it for what it was, versus hating it for what it wasn't. You know what I mean? Chuck Peter says Day of the Dead movie is on or around Halloween. Day of the Dead is awesome. You know, it's funny too, because I know that you are also a Superman fan. I don't know if you know this or not. Maybe you already know this, and if you do, just let me know. But what's his name? The actor that plays Bub, was it Sherman Howard? He played Lex Luthor in Superboy, beginning with season 2. This is the Superboy show from the '80s. I thought that was pretty interesting. Now, like I haven't gotten through the Superboy show. It was only like 4 seasons. I really liked the first, even though it was like super cheesy. I was struggling with season 2, even though better actor for Lex Luthor by by a long shot. Huge improvement when they switched that actor, but I didn't like how I didn't like the recasting of Clark. I didn't like the actor, and so I'm like kind of struggling with season 2, but I do need to finish it. Sean, Dream Warriors is my favorite movie. Good choice. Oh, he mentioned it. Oh, he did. Yep. Where he says same Halloween season of Witcher or Nightmare on Elm Street 3. Yeah, I mean the Elm Street films. Anytime I could put those on anytime. Chuck Peter says, "Yep, I remember that," and he was also Blight in Batman Beyond. I think. Oh, that's cool. That's interesting. Sort of like how like John Glover was like uh, the voice of Riddler in the uh, Batman the animated series, and then he was the scientist who created Bane and sort of caused Pamela to become Poison Ivy and Batman and Robin. And then he was Lionel Luthor in Smallville, and then he was Dr. Savannah's father in Shazam. Uh, I don't know. I kind of like that. U.S. Sean says, I would have liked Halloween to do the anthology thing. To be honest, some of those sequels were rough to get to. Yeah. I always think of the what if, what if the series didn't revert back to Michael Myers? What would it look like? I think it would have probably been awesome. But that's just my thought. All right. Well, I am going to be leaving since, yeah. It's funny how, like, I have like a certain mindset of how these shows are going to go, and like in my mind, and I think of all these different things, and then just a couple little small things just kind of like throw me off, and then all of a sudden I can't speak and I fumble. I'm like the Buffalo Bills against the Baltimore Ravens, just all over the place. Trickopedia says John Glover was on Law and Order, and I said I don't trust him. He tried to kill Lex. My youngest sister laughed and said, "You and your Smallville fandom." Yep. John Glover was brilliant in that show, though. The Lionel Luthor character I thought was just a great addition to the mythology. Chuckapedia says, "Good show tonight, Seth, and thank you for streaming. And I hope everyone has a great night." Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Um, I do feel like I was a little bit more scatterbrained than normal, uh, which is kind of a shame. I did kind of fly through my topics pretty fast. Um, yeah, I just overall, as I said multiple times, I'm just repeating myself now. I love dog soldiers. So, US Sean says, "Have a good night, buddy. You too." So thank you to Irish Sean, US Sean, CT Salem, Trekopedia, to Ray. Thank you guys for commenting, and I look forward to continuing on with this series. Next week, I'll probably um, do an episode where I talk about werewolves in as secondary characters. So talking about a couple of those Tales from the Crypt and amongst other things. So join me next week for that, and have a good night. And good night, Marty.